Good afternoon. I'm Janet Graves, CPA. I'm here with Christine Dorward. Sorry, Christine, to give you a quick overview of what's become a pretty prevalent issue in our field and in people's lives, identity theft, and what you need to be aware of and what to do should you become the victim of identity theft via an income tax return filing. What we're going to talk about today are really just highlights. What would be the first signs that you had been a victim of identity theft, what you need to do if you become a victim of identity theft, what you can do to prevent becoming a victim of identity theft, a couple of new requirements that went into place this year in an attempt to fight this crime, and just some resources that you can tap if you want some additional information or we don't cover something that you think would impact your situation.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about is the signs of identity theft. So getting started, we've just come up with some high-level things that you should be looking for that are signs of identity theft. First things first, if you get any of these notices or anything, come to us immediately. We've seen these kinds of things, like we'll know what to do. So here are a few of the signs. If your e-filing of your return has been rejected, we'll know that first, but if you get a notification, then just let us know. If you receive correspondence that your return has been filed but you haven't filed it, that's a big sign, that's a big red flash. So keep an eye out for that. If you get a bill from the IRS or a refund from the IRS before your return's been filed, that's a big red flash also, because you wouldn't be getting that if you haven't filed your return. If you get a notice from the IRS suggesting your tax due or a refund before you filed your return, keep an eye out for that. And then a few notices you can get from the IRS are if you have wages not earned, or if you have a W-2 form from a company that you don't work for, or if your Social Security benefits have been adjusted or denied, or your Social Security earnings statement, you receive earnings from a place that you didn't work.
So if you end up in one of these situations, like Christine said, contact us immediately. Most times we find out from clients that they've been a victim of identity theft because we're doing the e-files. We'll get an e-file rejection. We'll contact our filing service provider and or the IRS to find out that a return's already been filed with that Social Security number. The second most common way is you'll get a notice from the IRS requesting additional information on a Form 1040 that you didn't file. So if this happens, these are the steps that we will walk you through, that we will take to immediately to try to contain the identity theft, get the fact that your ID has been stolen on the IRS's, to the attention of the IRS. So number one, you're going to end up having to file what's called an identity theft affidavit. It requires you to submit proof of identification, a copy of your passport, your driver's license, Social Security card, some type of government-issued ID. That's step number one. Step number two, if you receive a notice in the mail, the first thing we need to do is contact the IRS at the number on the notice for a couple of different reasons: to make sure it's valid, to make sure we know why it is the notice was issued and what they're looking for, and this puts the IRS on notice that you've been a victim of identity theft. You need to get in touch with the Social Security Administration to let them know that your identity's been stolen, to prevent somebody from accessing or trying to access your Social Security records. Notify credit report, the 3 credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Let them know this has happened. Get a copy of your credit report. If you see any accounts on there that aren't yours, close them immediately. A couple of additional steps that people might not be aware of or might not seem like just a common sense thing to do. The FBI has an Internet Crime Complaints website that they are encouraging people to file a complaint on if something has happened to them. For example, if it was an e-file e-filed return that you did not have authorized someone to e-file, they're going to want you to go to this website and file a complaint. And just so you know, if the identity theft is discovered via an e-file rejection, you're going to have to file a paper return, paper copy of your return, both federal and any state returns. And this is how we'll get the identity theft affidavit to the IRS, how a lot of this will be taken care of. But again, this is something, just let us know as soon as you can, and we can immediately start working on what we need to do to fix the issue. Scams. There's been a lot of talk, and it seems to go in peaks and valleys. Know that the Internal Revenue Service will never call you and demand collection or payment of a tax. People get these calls threatening them with jail, threatening to come and arrest them, threatening to file liens against them. Don't fall victim to that. If you do receive a call from someone claiming to be with the IRS, if you can get the phone number that they're calling from, if you've got caller ID on your phone, hang up immediately. Do not give them any information. Do not, be really careful about if you say anything at all to them, and call the IRS at this 800 number to report the call. If you don't owe any taxes, there's also a form that you can fill out called an IRS impersonation scam through the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. Again, an 800 number to call to report this. If they don't know, if they're not getting this reported to them, they can't investigate it. They're working really hard to try to shut these people down and try to keep these scams from progressing. Another thing to do, again, if you get a call from someone claiming to be with the Internal Revenue Service, file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission at the webmail address that we provided. When you do that, add a comment to it that says IRS telephone scam. Again, they're trying to collect as much information as they possibly can to shut these people down.
Okay, so new requirements for the year 2016 tax returns. Starting in 2015, New York started to follow the lead of the IRS and started getting taxpayers' driver's license information. But with the 2016 tax year, this information is going to be required for New York State purposes. So we're asking all of our clients to provide us with their license information. We recommend that you upload this information to the secure site so that it stays private. But what they're going to need this year is the license number, the issuing state, the issuing date, the expiration date, and the document number. You should have received an email from us that states all this information, where you can find the document number on your New York State ID. Again, New York State's just doing this to have further protection for taxpayers, keep their information private, and they're really taking action to decrease the number of identity thefts that occur every year. Just one last thing, if you have a child who's filing a tax return and they don't have a state-issued ID yet, that's fine. There is an option that says they can't fulfill this requirement, so it's not a big deal. Yeah. So next is a couple of resources that you can go to look up identity theft.
Again, the IRS is trying, they're really trying hard to contain this, put a stop to it as best they can. In July of 2015, they set up a couple of different organizations and groups to try to centralize the operations for identity theft, so when the information is collected, there's one group of people that are looking at it and trying to get it under control. They've got one leadership team. Victim assistance is being centralized. You're going to have more consistent treatment of how these identity theft situations are handled. You're not going to get passed from agency to agency and person to person. They'll gain efficiencies in dealing with them. I know a couple times I've had to call on behalf of a client to track through a holdup of a refund on an identity theft on a paper filed return that we had to file, and I was passed through to literally 4 different groups before I could get to the person who could answer my question, because they were being uber careful about who they were talking to, what information they were giving me, and only certain groups had access to certain information, so this should be a help with that. The other thing that's happened again recently, back in late 2015, early 2016, the IRS has what's called an IP PIN, an identity protection PIN, that they issue to individuals who have been a victim of identity theft. And what happens is you get a number, you have to provide that to us to input on your return so that your return can be electronically filed. It's another fail-safe for the IRS to know that that is actually you filing the return. They issue you a new IP PIN every year. Hackers got smart. Hackers gained access to the IP PIN website late 2015, early 2016. The IRS had to shut the program down. They've now restored their firewalls. They've now got it safe again. So the IP PIN program is up and running again. There are a few states that are running a trial program in Florida, Georgia, and Washington, D.C., where taxpayers can apply online to get an IP PIN, but it's limited to these 3 locations. They haven't released it nationwide yet, and that's all set. IRS resources, these are just for your reference. If you want to get some more information, if there's some things you want to be aware of, phishing schemes, security awareness. I've looked at a lot of these resources myself. The YouTube videos, they really step you through what you need to be careful of. These are all through the Internal Revenue Service. There's some other resources available through the Federal Trade Commission. There's a CPA handbook out there to give you hints on how to prevent fraud and commercial crime, and the AICPA has a tax advocacy effort that's constantly providing comments to Congress on various proposals concerning how they're reacting to tax return identity theft. As we mentioned early on, we've been through this a few times with clients in different situations and different circumstances. If you think you've been a victim, please contact us immediately, and we'll help step you through the process and answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah.